Well, I'll tell you what, it is a warm one down in Florida today. Like 108 degrees real feel, but little sweet tea. At least there's a few luxuries in life that we can barely afford. You know, some of y'all are real passionate. The pool's looking good though. Some of y'all are real passionate about your guy or your girl, ain't you? Uh, People don't believe that when I tell them that I don't. I've kind of come to the realization a while back that the whole thing's just a big old game and it's a charade and it's been scripted. And I truly just believe anymore that it don't make a difference what any of us think. See if I can get in this pool without falling in. Oh, that's better. Whoo, it's like bath water. But it's funny to see some people on these platforms all fighting for their man or fighting for their girl, and it just got me thinking. I was like, I mean, if I point out any flaws in their candidate, they immediately assume that I'm rooting for the other one. And it's like, well, no, because they're all corrupt, and there's not one over the other one that's going to make a tremendous difference. That's going to change anything for the better for any length of time, even if they manage to for a minute, because the whole system inherently was hijacked. I don't even know, maybe since inception. But I just don't think that. But I'm sure they appreciate you all fighting for them, because I'm still under the belief that therein lies the ruse. As long as they can keep y'all busy fighting with each other, keep that divide up. That's what they've been doing since the inception of this country, and I think it's been being puppeteered. In fact, I know it's being puppeteered well above anybody in our government, or any other government for that matter. But that'd be a conspiracy theory, so I don't want to get into that, because I'll probably get banned from all those social media platforms, and y'all think I'm crazy, even though the proof half the time is right in your face. But I mean, here's something that's pretty evident. I mean, you go back, I don't know, go back to like George W. I mean, he was, he led us in that great, war, get them WMDs out of Iraq, and even though there wasn't any, I mean, well, he did save us from that oil robber baron, over there and everything. Turns out though, his whole family's full of them. So, and I think he was on the Republican side of things. I even voted for him. I don't remember actually now, but it's been so long ago. But I do know that, but then Barack came in, I mean, it was the hope, right? Wasn't it hope and change? I think at the end of that, at that time, 8 years or whatever, I think we always hoped we still had some change left, and that's going back ways. Now, I'll tell you, I do recall one thing that they did during Barack Obama's terms and his time in the White House. I don't really even know who did it, which side did it, or who did it. But after the whole bank collapse that they already knew was coming, and that was all set up by design when they put those bad loans together in the first place, so they could come back around and buy all that real estate for pennies on the dollar. And I mean, I'm not talking about Barack, of course, I'm talking about, other people, but bankers, stuff like that. But, fortunately, 9 years after, we bought our house, I think, in Ohio in 2000, probably 7 or 8. So then it collapsed, right after that. So I think 9 years later, 10 years later, we went to sell to move to Florida. I had to short sell 10 years later, because the house was only like 7 years old, I think, at that time. But, I never made that money back. So I lost about $26,000 at least, a negative anyway. But thankfully, there was some sort of a blessing by Congress that allowed me to not pay income tax on that, capital gains tax on the loss that I took from buying my house. And that was a huge favor. But I'll tell you, we caught the barely, the end of that. We were like one of the last, people where you can still take advantage. At least I didn't have to pay income on my loss. That was sweet of them. I mean, it was really nice of Congress or whoever was in charge of that stuff. But, I mean, but thankfully, after that, Trump came along, the Trump train, he solved everything. I think, I don't really remember. Do you remember anything that he solved? Is there anything that he solved during those 4 years that Biden didn't just destroy in the last 3.5 years? I don't think so. In fact, I can't think of any president ever that had such a long-standing change that it literally made us rich, or lowered our taxes forever, and unemployment stayed low forever, and careers and jobs all flourished, and the economy never went south again. So I just don't remember. Maybe you guys do. Maybe there was a time a president affected so much change in your life that it's set you on a path to to fame and riches or whatever. I don't know, but it sure didn't me, or anybody I know. In fact, it really doesn't matter what they do in that term they have if they've got 4 or 8, because the next guy's going to come along and change everything and destroy it anyway, or whatever. And that's always what's happened. I mean, I just don't remember anything that Trump did that that stuck. I mean, I don't know. We got more illegals here than we've ever had, and he was trying to stop that. I know inflation's through the roof, so they say it was what it was back then. And, it's all a belief system. I think that when people say, "Oh, there's going to be a recession," and if everybody enough people says it, they stop spending money, then automatically it's a recession. But it's just kind of like the lemmings or something. Everybody just jumps off the same cliff. But I just I'm sure they appreciate y'all, and so that keeps us so we don't focus on actually affecting real change to get the corruption out of our government. Let's get the special interest money out of there. Let's get the corporate ownership out of there. Honest to God, man, it might just be too far gone. I don't know. The truth is, you'll never get enough people in majority elected to offices that would have enough numbers or garner enough momentum to affect change. Because I truly believe you can't get there unless you take the money. I said my idea was just cap the spending. I mean, you can only spend so, this whole trickery with the whole PAC funds and stuff. And, the politician can't run those, but his mom and dad are the president and vice president of it. So, they don't have access to that money or steer it, which is just another damn lie. Every single time you try to put up a hurdle, they've already got 27 roundabouts put in. So they just go right around anything the American people do or want. But, right now we're just all really focused on who shot JR. And, seriously, I think they were really just writing a storyline off of the Love Boat or the 1970s when last time there was actually any good TV on. But, I think that people just lose their mind. I mean, look, I'm an outsider, man. Again, I don't believe in any of them. So if I attack your candidate, don't assume that I'm on the other guy's side either. It's just the fact that there ain't nobody perfect, and the hypocrisy on both sides of the flaws that they're pointing out, which are literally the exact same thing that the other one had. I mean, they got you guys hooked. I mean, hook, line, and sinker. If you have to promote your guy or your girl simply only by attacking the other candidate, that means you got nothing to stand on. I mean, because I don't know that any of you have anything, not anything, to stand on that is so much better than it was before any one of those people ever took office. Any of them, seriously. But they got you, don't they? They got you divided. They got you fighting each other instead of fighting them, because ain't none of them on your side. I've said it a million times. I'll say it till I leave this planet, I guess. It's a big old club and we ain't in it. And they're politicians. I mean, Trump was a businessman, but you don't think you can be to his level of a businessman without cutting some throats. I mean, it'd be silly to think that he really knows what we go through. I mean, he might be empathetic. I don't know if he is, or that's just an act. The other ones sure as hell ain't empathetic. They're not empathetic at all. They just get richer and richer. I can tell you that every one of those presidents or those administrations that going back to the last 20, 25 years, they've all done really well. I mean, they come in, broke, making, $250,000 a year, but then they come out making, $250 million a year or something. So, I mean, they've all done real well. It's too bad that trickle down stuff. I think George Bush, one of them, I think it might have been JW there. I mean, I think he gave me $600 once, didn't he? Did he give us a stimulus package for $600 once? I think I remember that. It might have been him to boost us or something. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't him. Of course, it compares, it pales to compare, I'm sorry, to what we give all these other countries. Now that I really do understand the banking and the world finance a lot more, because that's where I think that's where it all comes from. I think that's where all the crookedness comes from, and the power and control. All this comes over money. I mean, it really does. But it's weird, because I was looking into the deficit and things like that, and then the income tax, and of course the Federal Reserve. But I was like, what was the deficit in, say, whatever, 1911? I think it was like 12 or 13 when they passed the income tax, and the Federal Reserve came along, where Congress could then subvert the American citizens. They don't need us to buy bonds anymore to get money. They don't need us to fund to get money. They can just go right to the Fed, which is why we're today, but we're $2 trillion in debt. But most years prior to the Fed, we had a balanced budget. I think we were negative equity to France after the Civil War. The government was, and I think there's been a few times here and there that they were a little bit deficit, but they weren't like this. In fact, I think even up into like 1911, they had a balanced budget. 2 trillion negative, 2 trillion negative. That doesn't really mean a whole lot to me and you, because they'd be lucky to get their $110,000 Parent Plus loans I own for my kids going to college for this great, phenomenal educations that they got. And they're making all kinds of money in this economy, as you can well imagine, with their degrees. But, it just seems silly to me that we're, again, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's hard not to get angry at each other. I understand that. But in the end, only they win because of that. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. Just keep on rooting for your team, I guess, and we'll see in the end. But again, I seriously doubt that any change can be affected that will ever outlast, the bad change that will come or whatever, because it's all stacked against us. I mean, I was also wondering, how far back does that go? I mean, it's a little warm in the sun out there. Whew. How far back does it go for, politicians? So I thought, who were the richest presidents? Who had the most, and how far back does this go? And you may or may not be surprised to know the number one richest president was Trump, of course, because he already had worth billions when he got there. And I hear people argue about him. Oh, well, he was given a silver spoon in his mouth. He got 60 million or something, or 600 million. 60 million, his dad gave him the loan. Well, I mean, that might be true. If your dad gave you $600 and you could turn it into a $6 million empire, that'd be pretty impressive too. I think 60 million compared to like 6 or 7 billion is a pretty good gain. That means the guy knew what he was doing, or at least he was shrewd enough to get it done. So I don't think that's something that people try to use that as a stab. I think that you probably should be applauding somebody that took 60 million and turned it into 6 billion. But going back and looking at the other, who the second most richest president was of the United States in history? George Washington. Could you imagine that? George Washington. These rebels, of course, the English think they're treasonous, rebels. I think maybe what it was they didn't have control of the situation with the monarchy over there, and they wanted control, so they just basically revolted. I don't know that it was all over the tea tax, because that was like a 1 to 2% total tax they were paying, and now we pay 12 to 13% for the similar taxes. It wouldn't be the tea, that's for sure. I don't know how much that tea cost there that I was drinking, but yeah, no, it's like excise tax and stuff like that. If you look at it, we're paying about 12 or 13% for the same taxes they were paying 1 to 2% for. That went up, and then there's about 75 other taxes that have been added since then. And then, of course, you got your state fees, local fees, mandated this, mandated that, pay to drive on the roads, but pay, half a third of the price in gas and taxes. I mean, they got us going, man. They really, it has been a manipulation over 200, almost 150 years of destruction. But I wonder, really makes you wonder, was it designed that way? Because it seems like, as tight as the Constitution may have been in the Bill of Rights, there were unfortunate loopholes. And I know they obviously couldn't think of everything, but even the things they thought of, there are roundabouts. So the government has gone around it to the point now that it's just, again, I believe, fully unrecoverable for the United States. It's sad, but the third most richest was, I believe, Thomas Jefferson. He was worth like 212 million, and that'd be in today's money. But could you imagine net worth of 212 million back in like whatever it was, late 1700s? I mean, that's rich. I mean, that might even make Bernie Sanders look poor. And he only makes like, I don't know, $2 or $3 or $5 million a year. But we had Teddy Roosevelt, of course, John F. Kennedy. I mean, I think they were rich too. And kind of when they got there, they only like coming in kind of weak at 119 million. But then then we had Madison, and who else we had there? I wrote down. Oh, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, it's amazing because most of them, except for really Trump, and I guess maybe Kennedy and Roosevelt, although we're not getting any younger, so they go back quite in history right now, but not as far back as Jefferson and Washington and them. It's amazing, though, isn't it, that those guys, that all these presidents were, turns out they were rich elitists, and they pretty much always have been. I don't know anyone that comes in there poor isn't going to stay poor for long, but it just takes big, giant bucks to even get in there, which means you have to be owned before. I wish they just throw all the money in a kitty and be like, okay, hey, there's these 5 guys that are running for president or whatever, and whatever the qualification would be that they're qualified to run, and you can only collect a total sum of X amount of dollars, and you all have to throw it in a pot, and and it'll get divided equally. So you go get your boys, you go get your millionaires, and give them, let them put in $10 million to buy your special interest for your committees. But no, see, all that goes into a pot. We're going to divide that equally amongst all 5 members, so y'all get the same spend, and that will be regulated. I hate to even go here. I mean, I don't know, but you think the federal government would have, like, the Department of Treasury would have some, influence to be able to control that shit, but they sure know that when you owe them $11.27 on your taxes, but they can't seem to find $100 bazillion every year. And I just bought stamps yesterday. It reminds me, I had to run to the Publix and buy some stamps. It was like $14, like 70 cents a piece for a stamp. I mean, I thought the post office was lucky to even be in business these days, is what I thought. Turns out, it's amazing to me, though, that we have this aid going out, and we have, I think it was $96 billion aid package, that last one that went out when they sent $61 billion to Ukraine. But a part of that was there was some money, I don't know, measly 2, 3, 4, maybe $5 billion or something that went to Egypt, which I have no idea what the hell they needed it for. I thought they all had oil and Arabs, all that stuff over there. Of course, Israel had to take their stipend off the top. I'm telling you about them guys, buddy. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to get banned and get yelled at, but y'all ain't paying attention if you don't realize they're in the middle of every damn war there's ever been since World War, whatever, even before that. And they weren't even called that then, because that state wasn't even there previous to like 1940. But anyway, let's not go down that route. But it's weird to me, though. It's it's just another irritant, I guess. They raised the damn price of stamps. Why? Why are you raising stamps on me? We got deep pockets, man. You just said $96 billion. You have an aid package, I think it runs through 2028, where we committed sometime, I don't know who did, we committed something like 15 or something, $18 billion a year to Israel through 2028. I mean, is that not I guess they didn't teach us this in school, because they really didn't, even how to balance a checkbook or buy groceries or any of that kind of important stuff. They taught us about cherry trees and lies about, reasons for things. But doesn't it seem odd to you that we're paying 70 cents a stamp, and just raise the price of stamps? I mean, okay, the next federal aid package, I vote for, maybe you give a little bit of money to post office if they need it, so I don't have to pay 70 cents. I pay $14 for a sheet of stamps. I mean, it's beyond Twilight Zone. It's beyond Twilight Zone. How do we have a 7 or 2 or whatever the hell $1 trillion, whatever it is? The deficit, I think it was, I want to say 7, but I could be wrong. It's pretty damn big. We ain't nowhere near going to have a balanced budget, and probably in the rest of my lifetime. But yet I got to pay more for stamps. That just pisses me off, man. It should piss you off too. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. Do you not see it? Do you not see the fleecing? And and how nothing will ever get fixed. Our whole lives have been up and down, up and down. You might get up for a minute because there's something going on. You might make some money on your house, and you might get some money in your 401k, and then they're going to pull this bank shit like they did before, and they bail out bailed out the same people that made the bad loans, and then they basically wiped out. I can't even tell you how many 401ks people lost all that when the good uptime. And we've just never, any of us in middle class, have even working really good jobs or whatever, have ever just been able to get ahead, man. It's like you can peak a little bit before they yank the carpet out from underneath you, and they do it in so many different ways that you can't avoid it, no matter what you do. And I know I'm just bitching like the rest of you, but you know what? At least I'm not naive enough or ignorant enough to stand and scream for for change and how they're going to fix that and they're going to fix that. 'Cause I'm going to tell you something. Let me let you in a little secret. And it's not really a secret if you've been, if you have a well, I don't know, don't worry about the television because God only knows. I haven't watched TV going almost 3 years now. And I thought I was going to escape this scenario, but then it turns out it was taken over on social media, so you can't get away from it. But all you got to do is look back 25 years. And at this rate, if this country even makes it another 25 years, which I highly doubt, but look forward, go back 10 years and look forward 10 if we make it that long. There's nothing that these people that you're up there touting and you're rooting for and you're arguing over, they're going to do that's going to fix anything for you. Nothing. Because even if they do, the next guy's going to come along and fuck it all up. And the pattern has been that since George Washington made $525 million. Come on, man. Oh, Lord, people, what are we going to do with you? God love you. You know, I hope it doesn't come down to some shit show and some bullshit that they, you know, from the far left to the far right, and then the fighting in the middle, which is what they want us to do, so they can put the blue hats on our streets. It would be a disaster, and that's not what I want for anybody. No one, because people will suffer, and that's not what we're after. And it's really sad because I do believe, even though the people that have the ultimate power on this planet and have for a long time have a tremendous amount of money, what good is it? I mean, you can buy food with it. If they said your money's no good or we don't care about your influence, but you know, this might get out there far enough that some of you rotten SOBs that suck their ass and you know, on a lot of people and take shots at people, and you're part of the problem. You know, you work for the dirty, you know, alphabet crews. What are you thinking, man? What is that a world that you're if you even, probably most of them don't even have a relationship or a wife or a kid because they're too much of an asshole to even anybody to actually, they don't love themselves. So how would it would be difficult for anybody to love them. But when you're out here and you're backing the man, and I don't care if you're local law enforcement. I mean, if you're out here pulling a bunch of dumb shit to collect revenue, to send it to the big boys up top, what do you think if the shit hits the fan? Where are you going to be standing? You ain't going to be in their bunker with them. You ain't going to be living the high life for 5 to 10 years, you know, in your underground missile silo somewhere. Your ass is going to be out here with the rest of everybody, and your family's going to be starving too. I hope y'all figure that out sooner than later, because when the shit, if the shit show happens, you want to make sure you're on the right side of it. Because if these people ever get, even the ones that are the most pacifist and the most least conspiracy territorial or whatever, they're going to get vicious when they get hungry. I mean, when they seriously get hungry and things are really that bad, I don't think you're going to have a good time trying to defend those people that are dug down in their holes. It really blows my mind that when these people show up at people's doors, these ABC FYGs, and they're questioning them and they're leaning on them. My question to them be, who the hell, what side are you on, bud? Wait, are you living that large? You got it like that? I mean, you got it like that? You're good, because you're representing, you know, the bullshit. And you're here to, you know, or trying to, you know, whatever, silence the people who want the best for humanity. And here you are representing the man downstairs. Do you even know it? Do you sleep at night, or you just don't even care? But when shit, like I said, if the shit ever goes bad, it's going to get ugly. But I won't keep you any longer. I gotta probably get all the way in the pool because before I melt like a big fat ice cream cone. But you know, I'm gonna keep watching you guys ping ponging back. Well, he did this and he said that. You know, even Hillary Clinton said one time, she said the biggest one of the biggest tools in their arsenal was deflection. Always blame your opponent for what you're doing. And that's also one of the good tells on when people are maybe not being truthful with you. You'll see that, you know, one of the biggest tells is people will defend themselves over things that you didn't accuse them of, which is a really big tell, because they have a guilty conscience. So they're always thinking somebody's going to see through their, you know, fog. Of course, with politicians, it's literally become habit to say one thing and then 10 years later or 5 or 3 years later, completely flip as the tide turns because they're just talking out the side of their mouth just to please as many people as they can to maintain their elitist lifestyle. But I really do believe that nobody counts your vote. I don't believe that they go through and count. Well, obviously, they don't count every vote because we know certifiably in Georgia and several other states that certifiably hundreds of thousands of votes didn't get counted. Not that it would, again, A, made a difference if it had have chosen the other person, or B, there was been enough to change the tide. I don't know. All I can tell you is it wouldn't matter because give me something. Give me something that any president has made permanent that another president can come by later and totally destroy it. That has made your life better financially or just in general, peace of mind. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it real.